Mike's Daily Podcast.
Contact is all that it takes to change your place and change your place in time.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
That's a Van Halen song when Sammy Hagar took over for David Lee Roth, and it was one of Valerie Bertinelli's favorite songs. It's called When Love Comes Walking In. Not to be confused with When It's Love, which was that other song that Sammy Hagar sang that was like a ballad thing that made a lot of Van Halen fans angry. But it's still a great song. Sammy Hagar, you can learn a lot from that guy.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Writes a lot of his stuff like Billy Joel does in the shower, interestingly enough.
Mike's
Don Henley said,
Daily
I'm quoting all these 80s
Podcast.
singers, guys.
Yeah!
Don Henley said, unloading the dishwasher is his best place for writing stuff. Fascinating. To me, Mike Matthews, so fascinating. Hey, thank you for listening to episode 2224, 22224. And I am your host, Mike Matthews, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. Hey, Jimmy Kimmel, Fallon, one of these guys, Jimmy Fallon, one of those white late night guys. Jimmy Fallon does this thing called mimicking, the Mimic Challenge. And he got like Cardi B to try and mimic sounds like, hey, try and mimic this sound. There. Try and mimic this sound. And then they try and go, you know, to which, it is so crowded in here, cafe anyway, I'm bumping into the walls and stuff. Would you like to do the Mimic Challenge?
No.
Maybe once?
No.
Maybe twice?
No.
Okay. A theme is happening here. So Jimmy Fallon said, thank you, Tai Chi, for being the perfect way to defend myself.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Against an army of invisible slow motion ninjas. Was that funny?
This is my last word. No!
Okay. That was Jimmy Fallon, everybody. Back when he was doing late night. Not before he was the Tonight Show guy. Oh, and thank you, Sliders, for tricking me into thinking you're a perfectly appropriate appetizer. Would I like to start my meal with a regular size hamburger? Of course not. But I will have 6 tiny hamburgers because that's totally different. Thank you. Basil. He would like sliders of any kind. Oh, this is fascinating. Basil, you would enjoy this story. The late, great Basil the Boxer. Oh, by the way, the podcast picture is not of Basil or any place Basil ever went, but a place where his dad, Dog Daddy, went, and that was Huntsville, Alabama. I lived in Huntsville, Alabama for 2 years, and you may have heard they had some tornadoes recently, and so I am saying one big, humongous prayer for Huntsville, Alabama. I hope all is well over there, because tornadoes are not fun, and in California, we do not really know what it's like with a tornado situation, and it's horrible. As somebody who lived through it, the Alabama Shakes drummer got arrested in Limestone County. Okay, so first off, I lived in Limestone County for a while. Second, Alabama Shakes hails originally from Athens, Alabama. Brittany Howard and the band. You gotta hold on. Dun, dun. No, the Weather Channel's Jim Cantor was not in Huntsville. There was a deadly supercell. Oh, you know what? We used to get these supercells in Alabama. And I did a rant. I think this is pre-podcast. Maybe it was on the podcast. I definitely, you know what? If you go to mikesdailypodcast.com, where you can also see the podcast picture, which is Huntsville, Alabama. That's where I was going with that. Huntsville, Alabama, beautiful picture from the area known as Big Spring. And there's the Werner von Braun Center. Werner von Braun, the German that we stole from the Nazis, who knew a lot about rockets and the amazing work that he knew how to do with rockets, and helped us get into the space race. And there are a lot of nasty things I can say about Wernher von Braun, but I will save it or let you look it up. How about that? And if you look it up with Bing, you get points, just like I did. I got like maybe 1 point looking up that, but what I was trying to look up, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration satellite captured an animation of a supercell creating a large tornado in central Alabama. That's not, Huntsville is North Alabama, or Nobam. Not SOBAM, but Nobam. And that's right on the Alabama, Tennessee border. Takes you an hour and a half to get to Nashville. I liked it in northern Alabama because there was a lot of smart people there in Huntsville, working on rockets, working on all kinds of tech stuff. And nice people, wonderful people, beautiful scenery, inexpensive to live. You were really close to Huntsville, checking out Lynchburg, Tennessee, where the Jack Daniels distillery is. That was a lot of fun. Heading west towards Muscle Shoals and Florence, Alabama was a lot of fun. Beautiful area, and I miss it. And I haven't been back there in almost 10 years, and I'm missing it. So, and I really sometimes wish I never left. But the Bay Area is an interesting place. And it's like being on the opposite end of everything, living in the Bay Area. However, for all the traffic, I criticize all the traffic jams we have here in the Bay Area. There were traffic jams in Huntsville. Not as many, but as we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing you Mike's Daily Podcast. Somewhere in Podcastro Valley is where we are. Plus, if I moved back to Alabama, I'd be moving out of Podcastro Valley. Would I take Podcastro Valley with me? I'd have to change it to Podsville or something like that. Oh, Lake Gunderson. Loved that area. That was neat. I wanted to explore so much. Let me unburden myself a little bit, because that's what this podcast is slightly about. Maybe you might find it interesting. I try to bring you interesting things. By the way, you heard this earlier today. Several tornadoes touched down in Alabama, killing at least 6 people and leaving effects for local populations across the state, ranging from no power to torn down houses to downed trees. That was the only problem with living there, was the fact that you have this tornado season. And I seem to recall it happening more in May. So having it in March this early in the year, I think, is a little bit worrisome. So they are predicting strong to severe storms later this evening and also again tomorrow night. So let's say a big, huge prayer for Huntsville, Alabama, and the rest of Alabama. But when I lived there, I was married. And I will tell you, as far as the marriage goes, those were some of the happiest times we're living there. Some of the worst times, as far as being married went, but also some of the best times. And we went on a trip to Germany, which, by the way, that's the other fun thing about living in Alabama, is you're much closer to Europe. If you want to go traveling to Europe, it's much easier to get over there than it is from California. Whereas from California, it's easier to get to Hawaii. Because I was missing... Isn't it funny? I was on the other side of the country in Huntsville, Alabama, thinking about Hawaii. So my then wife and I flew all the way across to California and then went from there to Hawaii. And now that I live in California and have been living, or back in California, I should say, I've been back here for 11 years, 12 years. This year will be 12. And I have not been to Hawaii since. But yes, some of the best times were there. And when we went to Germany, it was some of the best times we ever had. So I'm just saying, there's some definitely, if you've never been to Alabama, find some really cool people you can stay with. Maybe there's some exchange program. You could bring Alabamans out to California to enlighten them, and then bring the Californians over to Alabama to enlighten them, because there is a lot of meeting of the minds going on, and culture shock and important stuff it's like when you first go outside of the country and you didn't realize that people think this way and that way about Americans, or you didn't know they do things differently in other parts of the world. It's eye-opening, brain-opening, that sort of thing. Okay, check out the podcast picture at MikeStaleyPodcast.com. My lovely lady friend she went on a walk today and talked to a guy who has a husky, and he told her, she was telling him about how we had Basil the boxer, and we lost him last year. He passed away, and she said, we're not ready yet to get another dog. And people have been suggesting, Mike, you need another dog. You need to get, and I'm like, no. It's the last thing on my mind. Get that away from me. Get that thought process away from me. This guy, to perfectly lay this out for you, this guy waited 8 years before he got another dog. And the only reason why he got another dog was because his son got a dog. And this happened so many times. The son got a dog and then, got distracted. Oh, this is too much work to have a dog. Oh, I want to play video games. I want to watch football. This is boring. I don't want to have a dog. It's too much responsibility. So then now this guy has a dog. He's happy. He loves this dog, but still, it's usually because somebody doesn't realize the amount of responsibility. They just want it. They're, I want a dog. And then they don't realize that it's a lot of work. And you can't just jump into it willy-nilly. And then the people that do, they end up giving the dog to someone in their family more responsible. That's what happened to me recently when someone who purchased a dog for $5,000 then calls me up and says, do you want the dog? I can't handle it. Do you want the dog? Wait, what? And this guy I know, he's very entrepreneurial, opportunistic. He said, you should have taken the dog and then sold it for like $7,000. Like, how could you even say that? Here's an interesting thought. So here we are in this world of the coronavirus, and I know so many people who have gotten the shot. Someone I know got the Johnson & Johnson shot. So one shot, he was fine the first day. Then all of a sudden, about 24 hours later, he caught the chills. He felt achy. Not really, really bad, but he thought, it was feeling like it was going to get worse, like he had the coronavirus. But then by the next day, he was fine. Now, the question that I am asking, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, but no one's been able to answer this question, including this guy I was talking to. And I've talked to a lot of people who've gotten the vaccine. Nobody can tell me how long it lasts. You get the shot, is it last forever? Do you need a booster? Do you need to take another one in a year or in a month? And the conspiracy theorists tell me, oh no, it doesn't even last a week. Yeah, I can't find any info on it. So that's my big question. Am I still going to get the vaccine? Yes, when it is my turn. And somebody told me, well, you're already, you work for the school system, so teachers can get a vaccine now. They can get the vaccine, and you're like a teacher. I'm like, how am I a teacher? And they said, you're like a kindergartner teacher. You deal with little kids. You're more like a preschool teacher. You deal with kids at work. And I said, how dare you? No, it's more like I work at an old folks home. But I'm not going to go there either. Let's just say people are interesting, aren't they? And we all could... I've heard some bizarre excuses about how people are able to get the vaccine. A lot of line cutting, a lot of people working the system. Is that fair? Is it really that fair when there are people that really need it? I mean, I don't like people cutting in front of me when I'm waiting to get on the Haunted Mansion, which that will never be happening ever again because I can watch the Haunted Mansion online and I don't want to deal with Disneyland. But I don't like the line cutters, but at the same time, it's interesting. And every day I'm hearing a new line cutting story, and that's not good. So here we are with the coronavirus, and here's another thing that's not good, is people are still smoking. Vaping and smoking, according to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, the disease and disability caused by tobacco smoking affects nearly every organ system of the body. Just some of the impacts caused by smoking are lung cancer, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, heart disease, stroke, asthma, reproductive effects in women, premature low birth weight babies. My mom smoked. It's amazing I got out alive. That should be a bumper sticker or maybe on a shirt. People don't do bumper stickers anymore. Diabetes, complications from that, blindness, cataracts, age-related macular degeneration. That's true. Oh, my dad's girlfriend, after he divorced my mom, she lived to be quite old, but she had macular degeneration. Was it from all the smoking she did? Or was it because she was old? I don't know. So, of course, all the cancer it causes. Now, the COVID-19 virus introduces more risks. The virus rapidly invades cells in the lungs and other organs and may cause mild to severe disease, including pneumonia, acute respiratory distress syndrome, cardiac disease, blood clots, kidney disease, and organ failure. It's interesting they said that the Pfizer vaccine caused blood clots. Was it that? Or the AstraZeneca or whatever? And the coronavirus causes blood clots. So got one bad thing or the other. I don't know. An analysis published in Nicotine and Tobacco Research looked at 19 peer-reviewed studies involving over 11,000 patients that included data on smoking behavior and the severity of COVID-19. It found that among people with the virus, the risk of COVID-19 getting worse in those who currently smoked or previously smoked was nearly double that of non-smokers. The study also found that when the disease worsens, current or former smokers had more acute or critical conditions or died. This is just guessing here, but a lot of musicians that caught the coronavirus died from it. In the past year, you heard about that. And, you know, what do musicians do a lot of? Yes. I can barely think of a single musician that I knew that did not smoke. Not that I was ever a really good musician or that I did much of that. But, yeah, it's a lot of, like, hanging outside, front of the bar, smoking with friends, that kind of thing, drinking, smoking. A lot of that going on in the music industry. So there we go with the e-cigarettes. Dual use with tobacco or using e-cigarettes, vaping by itself, we're at 5 or 7 times more at risk, respectively, of COVID-19 diagnosis compared with non-users. So there you go. Tobacco smoking is the most preventable cause of death. By not smoking, you help to prolong your life and live a healthier life. Smokers who quit by age 25 to 34 gained about 10 years of life compared to those who continued to smoke. Those who quit by age 40 reduced the risk of death associated with continued smoking by 90%. If you're ever going to quit smoking, now's the time to reduce the multi-organ risks of this dangerous habit and to help reduce the potential complications of the COVID-19 virus. Talk with your healthcare provider, pharmacists about counseling programs and smoking cessation products. You can find that all over the place. That being said, my mom still smokes and she's in her 80s. No sign of her quitting. Also, my dad, he quit about 5 years before he passed away. So, that that being said, I will never, ever, ever smoke, because everyone around me growing up was smoking and I hated it. Okay, we're outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valley, the last place on earth. Look who's here right now. Hello, Mike Matthews. It's Chely Shoehart, gift shop supervisor. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Mike Matthews, do that thing with the no guy again. The no guy? Okay.
No!
Wow, that was like really, really obnoxious. It was. Look who else is here. Speaking of obnoxious. Hello, Mike. This is Floyd the Floorman. And this is John Deere, the engineer. Mike, I hear you've got a fan.
I'm Jordan. Mike Matthews going to come in with more encouragement for you a little after 7. Have a good, restful evening. And as always, God willing, going to meet you back here tomorrow.
Ah, yes. Jordan. Oh, where is that thing that she told me I wanted to share? Oh, here it is. I saved it over here. There is something that she said, and she's very, very religious, very devout Christian. But she said a verse. So she does this thing. She's on a radio station that does Christian talk, and she pulled out a Bible verse that I thought was so, I don't remember ever hearing this verse, but it's so pertinent in these times, and especially, you know, as an adult and in this world with all of our craziness. It's from the book of Psalm, which I always say Psalms. So pardon me if I add an extra S, but it's Psalms, isn't it? This is chapter 46, verse 1. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in times of trouble. Yes, a refuge, a very present help in times of trouble. And that, for some reason, really calmed me. Because we all have times of trouble and craziness and whatnot, and people trying to stress us out with, should I do the virus or not do the virus? Just be calm. I hear, and a lot of pastors bring out the whole thing about how you shouldn't worry. And the Bible says, if you worry, that's almost like you're committing a sin, because you're assuming that, God, you know, you're not in good hands. The big old hands, God hands. So anyway, something to think about as we are so close to Sunday and the weekend. Just know you're in good hands, especially if you have Allstate, you're in good hands. But I guess I'm getting off a topic. Should I continue on this tangent?
No.
Oh. And you can chime in about any of this at 336MM Daily. 3 + 3 = 6. MM as in Mike Matthews. Daily as in what this podcast tries to be and has been for a couple of days. And there's this interesting thing I can play to remind you about that.
Call now. 336MM Daily.
And I think that's pretty much it. So next show it'll be the wonderful Benita, the Disgruntled Fiddle Player, and the Brewmaster. Don't forget that Sunday mornings I have a special radio show with music and interesting facts about what's going on in the world at, you can check it out at mikesdailypodcast.com. There's a link to it. So that is Sundays from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Go to Mike's Daily Podcast to get that link and find out all about it. And that's about it. Thanks.
That's enough. Put down the mic.
Wait a minute. Just really quick, in this world of where more and more of us are working from home, I heard an interesting postulation that we are going to be working from home more often, so less office space, so more things like WeWork, and there's this company called Spaces that lets you rent basically all the stuff you need to carry out your business. It's a rentable thing, but basically you can all do it from home, which, by the way, aren't companies saving so much money now that you're working from home and they don't have to, pay for internet and your computer because you're using your own computer? You bought that thing yourself, right? Unless you're lucky and work for a company that buys you your equipment. And what was the other thing? Oh, I'm hearing all of this talk from people on the right, people that are Republicans, politicians, that they want election reform because of what happened in 2020. That Joe Biden, they still say Joe Biden stole the election, and there was all kinds of shenanigans going on that was causing him to win and causing Trump to lose. And they want that to never happen again. And they're doing all these laws to change that. And here's the thing is we will never, ever, ever have this happen again, because that is unless Trump is running for president again. But if Trump never runs for president again, we'll never have this issue ever again, because it was just a guy who didn't like to lose, making a big stink, everyone supporting him, and it got out of hand. He knew how to rile up the masses, to rile up his base, and that's why he's really good at what he did. And so it's not going to be, you can do all the changes. It's funny, even if the Republicans change every freaking thing that existed in the world of elections, if a Democrat wins again, they're still going to come up with other stuff. So it's just something to think about. I could be wrong, but that's how I see it. And what do you think?
What was that all about?
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.
You can use your damn it if it's easier. Don't worry, I will cross my eyes so I can't see your secret code.